Buckle up, folks, because this story is about to take you on a wild ride through a maze of loyalty, betrayal, and the kind of courage that only comes when everything you love is on the line. Picture a man who built an empire from nothing, only to find the real battle waiting in his own home. This is the tale of Jonathan Clayton, a father who learned that sometimes, to protect what matters most, you've got to play a dangerous game and win. The morning sun spilled through the tall windows of Jonathan Clayton's office at Clayton Industries, painting the polished mahogany desk in warm gold. At 38, Jonathan had clawed his way from the rough streets of Detroit to the top of the tech world, building a consulting firm that was the envy of competitors. But it wasn't the contracts or the corner office that made his chest swell with pride. It was his family. His 10-year-old daughter, Emma, with her quick wit and unicorn obsession, and his wife, Christy, the woman who'd brought light back into his life after years of grief. That morning, his phone buzzed with a text from Christy. "Oops, grabbed your briefcase by mistake. Emma's lunchbox is in your car. Sorry, honey." Jonathan chuckled, shaking his head. Christy's scattered charm was one of the things he loved most about her. He pulled Emma's bright pink lunchbox, plastered with unicorn stickers, from his briefcase and set it on his desk. He'd drop it off at her school after his meeting with Kenneth Lynch, a former trauma surgeon turned concierge doctor who needed a security system for his new practice. Kenneth walked in, all confidence and firm handshakes, his 52 years carrying the weight of a man who'd saved thousands of lives. "Good to see you, Jonathan. How's the family?" "Can't complain," Jonathan replied, gesturing to the lunchbox. "Emma's growing like a weed, and Christy's talking about redecorating the kitchen again. She even packed this in my bag by mistake this morning." Kenneth's smile froze, his eyes locked on the lunchbox, and the color drained from his face like someone had flipped a switch. Jonathan felt a prickle of unease. "Kenneth, what's wrong?" Kenneth stepped closer, his medical training kicking in as he examined the lunchbox without touching it. "Jonathan, listen carefully. Don't let anyone touch this. Don't open it. We need to get Emma and go to the hospital." Now Jonathan's heart skipped. "What are you talking about?" "It's just a lunchbox. I can't explain everything right now, but your daughter's life might be in danger. That white residue around the zipper. It's not food. I've seen it before. It's consistent with arsenic." The word hit like a sledgehammer. "Poison?" Jonathan's mind reeled. "That's impossible. Christy packed this herself. She'd never—" "I'm not accusing anyone yet," Kenneth cut in, his voice steady but urgent. "But that residue could be an arsenic compound, odorless, tasteless, deadly if administered over time. We need to act fast." Jonathan's world tilted. Emma had been tired lately, complaining of stomach aches. Christy had taken her to 3 doctors, all of whom chalked it up to growing pains or school stress. But what if they were wrong? What if someone was hurting his little girl? His hands shook as he grabbed his keys. "What do? "We go to the hospital," Kenneth said. "I have a friend in toxicology who can run tests on Emma and analyze the lunchbox. We need answers before we make any moves." As they rushed to the elevator, Jonathan's phone buzzed again. Another text from Christy. "How was your meeting with Kenneth? Pick up some milk on the way home. Emma's favorite cereal for tomorrow." The normalcy of it made his stomach churn. Either his wife was the loving mother he'd always believed her to be, or she was something far darker. Jonathan's first wife, Sarah, had died in a car accident 5 years before he met Christy at a charity gala. He could still picture Christy that night, her blue dress catching the light as she laughed with volunteers, not a hint of the polished ambition he was used to seeing in his world. She was real, warm, the kind of person who made you believe in second chances. When she said yes to his proposal after just 6 months, Jonathan felt like he'd won the lottery. Now, with Emma thriving and his business soaring, life felt like a dream he didn't dare question. Emma Clayton sat on the hospital bed, her legs swinging as she chattered about the cool machines in the emergency room. To her, this was an adventure, not a crisis. "Daddy, why'd you pick me up from school?" Mrs. Peterson said it was a family emergency, but everyone looks fine. Jonathan forced a smile, brushing a hand through her dark hair. "Just making sure you're okay, sweetheart. You've been tired lately, remember?" "That's what Mommy always says," Emma giggled. "She says you'd wrap me in bubble wrap if you could." The words twisted like a knife. Christy, who packed Emma's lunches with care, who tucked her in every night, who'd been there for every school play and scraped knee. Could she really be capable of something so monstrous? Dr. Lynette Levy, the head of toxicology, approached with a clipboard and a gentle smile. "Emma, We're going to do some quick tests, okay? Like when you donate blood at school, but easier. Christy would inherit everything, Kenneth finished. We're talking millions, right? Closer to 20 million, Jonathan whispered. His mind raced back to 6 months ago when Christy had suggested increasing Emma's life insurance policy. Just to be safe, she'd said. Given your family history of heart disease. Dr. Levy returned, her face confirming Jonathan's worst fears. Emma's blood shows elevated arsenic levels, consistent with chronic exposure over several months. The lunchbox contents, homemade cookies, tested positive for arsenic compounds. Jonathan's knees buckled. The hallway spun, but he forced himself to stay upright. How long do we have before you have to report this? I can keep Emma for observation under the guise of investigating her fatigue, Doctor, Levy said. That gives you about 48 hours before I'm required to involve Child Protective Services. 48 hours to prove his wife was trying to kill his daughter. 48 hours to protect Emma while gathering evidence that could send Christy to prison. As Jonathan looked at his daughter through the hospital window, coloring happily, he felt something shift inside him. The loving husband was still there, but beneath him, the ruthless businessman who'd fought his way out of poverty was waking up. Christy had made a fatal mistake. She'd threatened his daughter, and Jonathan Clayton never lost when it came to family. As the medical staff worked, Kenneth pulled Jonathan into the hallway. I've been thinking about Emma's symptoms: fatigue, stomach issues, nausea. If someone's been giving her small doses of arsenic, it would cause chronic poisoning, subtle at first, easily mistaken for childhood illnesses. But why? Jonathan's voice cracked. Why would anyone want to hurt Emma? She's just a kid. That's what we need to figure out, Kenneth said. Who has access to her food? Who prepares her meals? Christy does most of the cooking, Jonathan admitted, the words feeling like a betrayal. But she loves Emma. They're so close, Kenneth's expression was grim. What about life insurance? Financial arrangements? If something happened to Emma or you, who benefits? Jonathan's blood ran cold. Emma's my sole heir. If something happens to me, Christy would be the guardian of the estate until Emma's 18. But if Emma died first? He trailed off, the implication too horrifying to voice. Jonathan drove to a parking garage 6 blocks from his office, where Kenneth waited with a laptop and surveillance equipment. They'd agreed to monitor Christy's every move, but first, Jonathan had to face her. His phone showed missed calls and texts from her, each one more frantic. Where are you guys? Emma's not at school. Jonathan, I'm scared. He pulled into his suburban driveway, the house a monument to the life he'd built. Hardwood floors Christy had chosen, family photos lining the hall, the kitchen island where she prepared Emma's meals. It all felt like a stage set now, a backdrop for a performance he hadn't seen through. Christy rushed to him as he walked through the door, tears streaming down her face. Jonathan, thank God, where's Emma? The school said you picked her up for a medical emergency. She's fine, Jonathan said, watching her closely. Just some routine tests. She's staying overnight for observation. The words were perfect, but Jonathan heard them differently now. Not love, but a carefully crafted lie. That night, after Christy went to bed with a stress headache, he moved through the house like a ghost, installing tiny cameras and picture frames, recording devices in vents, motion sensors in the kitchen. By morning, every room was under surveillance. He saved Emma's room for last, standing in the doorway, looking at her empty bed. Rage burned in his chest, but he channeled it into resolve. Christy thought she was playing a grieving widower. She had no idea who she was up against. Observation for what? Christy's eyes widened. Is she sick? Jonathan, you're scaring me. They think it might be a vitamin deficiency causing her fatigue. He lied, years of business negotiations sharpening his tone. Nothing serious. Relief flooded her face, followed by concern. A vitamin deficiency? But I've been so careful with her nutrition. I give her supplements every morning, supplements. Jonathan filed the word away, his stomach twisting. The doctor said sometimes kids don't absorb vitamins properly. It's not your fault, honey. Christy threw her arms around him, her familiar perfume overwhelming. I was so scared something had happened to her. I can't imagine life without Emma. The next morning, Jonathan sat across from Christy at the breakfast table, studying her as she moved through her routine. Coffee brewing, eggs frying, toast browning, domestic perfection. I thought I'd bring Emma some homemade cookies when we visit her today, she said, pulling ingredients from the pantry. The chocolate chip ones she loves. Jonathan nearly choked, the same cookies that had tested positive for arsenic. That's thoughtful, but the hospital has strict rules about outside food. Allergies, contamination. Her hand froze on the flour canister just for a moment. Of course, I should have thought of that. The micro-expression, disappointment, frustration, was so brief he might have missed it if he hadn't been watching. Maybe we could get her something from the gift shop, he suggested. Magazines, a stuffed unicorn. Her smile returned, too bright. Perfect idea. She loves those silly toys. I have reason to believe someone close to my family is trying to harm my daughter, Jonathan said. I need to know what evidence would hold up in court. Jonathan, if there's a credible threat against a minor, you need to report it now. It's complicated, Jonathan said. The person's been careful. If we move too fast, we might not have enough for a conviction. I'm talking about attempted murder. Poisoning. A long pause. Jesus, Jonathan. Who are we talking about? My wife. The silence stretched. Accusations like that are serious. You need video evidence, documented behavior, financial motives. If you've got blood tests and contaminated food, that's a start. But catching her in the act with witnesses would seal it. Jonathan stared at the monitor, where Christy was now writing a grocery list. We need her to try again, he said suddenly. To poison Emma's food. That's dangerous, Kenneth warned. Emma's not coming home until we have evidence, Jonathan said. Christy doesn't know that. She'll want to keep her plan going. And if she doesn't take the bait, I'll make sure she does. How? Kenneth asked. I'm going to tell her I'm changing my will. That I'm setting up a trust that bypasses her if something happens to Emma or me. Make her think her window's closing. Kenneth shook his head. You're playing with fire, Jonathan. Desperate people make mistakes, Jonathan said coldly. And when Christy makes hers, I'll be ready. After breakfast, Jonathan kissed her goodbye and drove to the parking garage to meet Kenneth. The surveillance feed showed Christy tidying the house with mechanical precision, but in Emma's room, her mask slipped. She sat on the bed, holding a stuffed animal, her face cold, calculating like she was appraising property. Then she moved to Emma's dresser, checking clothes, opening her jewelry box with the detachment of someone planning a future without her. She doesn't love Emma, Jonathan whispered, the realization cutting deep. It's all an act. Psychopaths are excellent actors, Kenneth said. They mimic emotions perfectly, but when they think no one's watching, the truth comes out. Jonathan's phone rang. Detective Stuart Ray, a contact from corporate security jobs. I hear you need advice on a sensitive family matter, Stuart said. What kind of help do you need? That evening, Jonathan came home with flowers and a story. Christy was in the kitchen preparing Emma's favorite lasagna, garlic bread, and chocolate cake, a feast for her return. What's all this? He asked, setting the flowers down. I thought we'd have Emma's favorite meal ready for when she comes home tomorrow, Christy said, her voice thick with concern. The poor thing must be so scared. Jonathan watched her closely. Actually, that's what I wanted to talk about. The doctors want to keep Emma a few more days. They found irregularities in her blood work. Her face crumpled. Irregularities? What kind? It's probably nothing serious, he lied, pouring her a glass of Chardonnay. But it got me thinking about our future. I called Gerard Spence today to update my will. Christy went still. Update how? That night, Jonathan lay beside her, listening to her breathing, wondering how many nights he'd slept next to a killer. When she was asleep, he checked the surveillance setup. Kenneth was in a van across the street, monitoring everything. Jonathan texted, Phase 1 complete. She took the bait. Kenneth replied, Be careful. If she tries to poison you too. Jonathan had considered that, but he was counting on Christy's methodical nature. She'd spent months on Emma's poisoning. She wouldn't risk a new approach unless desperate. The next morning, she was unusually attentive, making his favorite breakfast and packing an extra lunch. A thermos of soup, in case Emma's feeling up to eating something from home. The hospital doesn't allow outside food, Jonathan reminded her. I know, but maybe they'd make an exception. It's just soup. He took the thermos, knowing it would be tested. At the hospital, doctor. Levy confirmed his suspicions. The soup contains enough arsenic to cause serious harm, possibly death. She's escalating, Jonathan said, because I threatened to change the will. Kenneth joined them, looking haggard. We got it on camera, her adding powder from a vial to the soup. Cold, calculated. It's enough for charges. I want more, Jonathan said. I want her to confess, to admit what she did to her first husband, too. How? Kenneth asked. By giving her what she thinks she wants, Jonathan said. He dialed home. Christy, you need to come to the hospital now. Something's happened. Panic flooded her voice. What? Is Emma okay? Just get here. Room 314, pediatric wing. He hung up, knowing she'd think Emma was dead, that her plan had worked. But when she arrived, she'd find Detective Ray waiting with handcuffs. With Emma's health issues, I want to make sure she's protected. I'm thinking about a charitable trust. If Emma doesn't survive to inherit, the money goes to children's hospitals instead of... He let the sentence hang. Instead of me, Christy finished, her voice barely audible. That's not what I meant, Jonathan said, feigning regret. I just want Emma's memory honored if the worst happens. You understand, right? Her eyes flashed with something vicious before she composed herself. Of course. Emma comes first. But Jonathan saw the wheels turning. He'd just threatened her entire plan. If Emma died now, she'd get nothing. She needed Emma alive long enough for Jonathan to die first, or she needed to act fast. When are you meeting with Gerard? She asked, stirring the lasagna sauce. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll sign the new will and visit Emma after. Maybe you could come with me. Of course, she said, her voice thick with false emotion. I miss her so much. Wow, what a twist, right? The lunchbox that seemed so innocent turned out to be a clue to a chilling plot. What did you think of Jonathan's quick thinking or Christy's shocking betrayal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from. Here at Revenge Emmy, we love hearing from you. If this story's got you hooked, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss the next chapter of this gripping tale. Got questions or theories about what happens next? Share them below and let's unravel this mystery together. 37 minutes later, Christy burst through the hospital doors, tears streaming down her face, her sweater inside out, one shoe mismatched. The picture of a devastated mother. Jonathan watched from the hallway, flanked by Detective Ray and Kenneth as she stumbled toward him, sobbing. Jonathan, what happened? Please tell me Emma's okay. Christy, we need to talk, Jonathan said, his voice steady as he made eye contact with Ray, who nodded. Everything was being recorded. I don't want to talk. I want to see Emma, her voice cracked, her purse clutched like a lifeline. She's safe, Jonathan said, stepping back. But we have questions about her condition. Christy noticed Ray for the first time. Who's this? Detective Stuart Ray, the officer said. I'd like to speak with you about your daughter's illness. Stepmother, Christy corrected, then caught herself. I mean, I love Emma like my own. I'd do anything for her. I'm sure, Ray said dryly. Are you aware Emma has been suffering from arsenic poisoning? Her face went white, but instead of shock, Jonathan saw fear and calculation. That's impossible. Where would she get arsenic? We tested the soup you sent this morning, Jonathan said. Enough arsenic to kill an adult, let alone a child. Her expressions cycled, shock, confusion, hurt, like she was testing which one would stick. That's impossible, she whispered. I made that soup myself. Unless someone tampered with it. Arsenic poisoning doesn't happen overnight, Kenneth said. The levels in Emma's blood suggest months of exposure. Who's had access to her food? I prepare most of her meals, Christy stammered. But the housekeeper, the school cafeteria. Christy, stop, Jonathan said, his voice cutting through her. Her eyes met his, and she must have seen the truth, because her frantic act dissolved into something colder. You know, she said quietly. I know you've been poisoning my daughter for 6 months, Jonathan said. I know you killed your first husband the same way. I know you married me for money and planned to kill us both. You can't prove that, she said, her voice calm now. Ray held up his phone. We have video of you preparing the soup, financial records showing your research into Jonathan's assets, and testimony about your first husband's suspicious death. Gerald died of a heart attack, she snapped. Not anymore, Kenneth said. His body was exhumed. Arsenic in his hair and bones, panic flickered in her eyes, but she rallied. Jonathan, please. I love you. I love Emma. I'd never hurt you. You fed her poisoned cookies, Jonathan said. You watched her cry from stomach pain you caused. You researched arsenic on our computer, bought it under a fake name. Her mask fell completely. You think you're so smart, don't you? The brilliant businessman who built an empire. But you were so easy to manipulate, so desperate for a mother for Emma. Actually, I did my homework, Jonathan said. Christy Shelton doesn't exist. You're Christina Marlowe, married 3 times before, 2 husbands dead under suspicious circumstances. Her shock was genuine. That's impossible. I covered my tracks. Not well enough, Jonathan said. I know about Robert Martinez and David Kim. I know about the insurance money. Ray stepped forward with handcuffs. Christina Marlowe, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, and suspicion of murder in the deaths of Gerald Shelton, Robert Martinez, and David Kim. As the cuffs clicked, she hissed at Jonathan. This isn't over. I have friends, connections. Yes, it is, Jonathan said. If anyone you know looks at Emma, I'll destroy them. Systematically, without mercy. As Ray led her away, Kenneth clapped Jonathan's shoulder. It's over. Emma's safe. But Jonathan knew it wasn't. Christina's threat about friends lingered, and he wasn't a man to leave loose ends. What a showdown. Christy's true face finally came out, but that hint about her friends has us on edge. What do you think? Does Jonathan have more battles to fight? Share your predictions in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from for Revenge Emmy. If you're loving this roller coaster, smash that subscribe button and join our community for more stories of betrayal and triumph. Got questions about the story or ideas for what's next? Drop them below and let's keep the conversation going. The hospital hallway felt colder after Christy was taken away, the fluorescent lights casting harsh shadows on the linoleum floor. Jonathan stood outside Emma's room, watching her sleep through the glass, her small chest rising and falling under the thin hospital blanket. She looked peaceful, unaware of the storm that had just broken over their lives, but Christy's parting words echoed in Jonathan's mind. I have friends, connections. He'd spent years building Clayton Industries, outsmarting competitors, and navigating corporate warfare. He knew a threat when he heard one. Kenneth joined him, his face etched with exhaustion, but his eyes sharp. You okay, man? That was intense. Jonathan didn't look away from Emma. She said she has friends. That's not an idle threat, Kenneth. She's been planning this for months, maybe years. People like her don't work alone. You think she's got accomplices? Kenneth asked, lowering his voice as a nurse passed by. Jonathan's mind was already racing, piecing together a plan. He'd spent his career anticipating threats, outmaneuvering rivals. This was no different, just more personal. Kenneth, I need your help. You've got contacts in the medical world. Can you dig into Christy's past? Her first husband, Gerald, and the others, Robert Martinez, David Kim. I need to know who she was working with. Kenneth hesitated. That's a tall order, Jonathan. I'm a doctor, not a private investigator. You spotted the arsenic, Jonathan said. You've got instincts. I trust you. Kenneth sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. All right, I've got a friend in pathology who owes me a favor. She might be able to pull records on Gerald's case. The others will be trickier, but I'll see what I can do. Jonathan turned to Ray. What about her digital footprint? Emails, bank records, anything that points to her friends? We're pulling her phone and laptop now, Ray said, but she's smart. Probably used burners or encrypted apps. We'll need a warrant to dig deeper, and that could take days. Then we don't wait, Jonathan said. I'm going to shake the tree and see what falls out. Ray raised an eyebrow. What's that mean? I'm going to make her think I'm backing off, Jonathan said. Let her believe she's won. If she's got people watching, they'll report back. Then we follow the trail. That's a dangerous game, Ray warned. If you play too soft, she might think she can still get to Emma. She won't, Jonathan said, his voice like steel. Emma's staying here under guard, and I'm not letting her out of my sight until this is over. I know she does, Jonathan said. The way she operated, methodical, precise, covering her tracks, it's not just cunning. It's practiced. She's done this before, and someone's been helping her. The question is, who Detective Ray approached, his notepad still in hand. We've got her in custody, but she's lawyered up already. High-priced attorney, too. Someone's footing the bill. Jonathan's jaw tightened. Can you trace the money? We're trying, Ray said. But her lawyer's firm is a black hole. Offshore accounts, shell companies. It's going to take time. Time's the one thing I don't have, Jonathan said. If she's got people out there, they could come for Emma. Or me. Ray nodded, his expression grim. I'll put a detail on Emma's room and we'll get a patrol car outside your house. But Jonathan, you need to be careful. If she's got connections, they might not wait for a trial. Jonathan returned home alone, the house eerily quiet without Emma's laughter or Christy's chatter. He moved through the rooms, checking the surveillance cameras he'd installed. Everything was still in place, recording silently. He sat at the kitchen island where Christy had prepared her poisoned soup and opened his laptop. Time to set the trap. He drafted an email to Gerard Spence, his lawyer, loud enough for anyone listening to hear through the bugs he'd planted. Gerard, I'm rethinking the will change. I don't want to rush into anything with Emma's health up in the air. Let's hold off for now. He hit send, knowing the message would be intercepted if Christy's allies were as connected as she claimed. Next, he called the hospital, speaking to Dr. Levy in a deliberately casual tone. Hey, Lynette, Emma's looking better, right? I'm thinking of bringing her home soon. No need to keep her cooped up. He hung up, then texted Kenneth. Just planted the seed, monitor the feeds. The figure didn't try to break in, just circled the property, then vanished into the shadows. By the time Ray's team arrived, they were gone, but the message was clear. Christy's friends were watching. Within hours, the surveillance picked up activity. A black SUV with tinted windows slowed as it passed his house, lingering just long enough to be suspicious. Jonathan noted the license plate and sent it to Ray. Run this. It's our first lead, Ray called back 20 minutes later. Plates registered to a rental company in Chicago. Paid in cash, fake ID, whoever's driving it doesn't want to be found. Then we find them, Jonathan said. Can you get traffic cam footage? Working on it, Ray said. But Jonathan, if these are Christy's people, they're pros. You need to watch your back. Jonathan didn't sleep that night. He sat in his office, a Glock from his safe within reach, reviewing the surveillance footage. At 2:17 a.m., the cameras caught movement in the backyard. A figure in dark clothing, moving low, checking the windows. Jonathan's heart pounded, but he stayed calm, texting Ray, "Intruder at my house, now." The next morning, Jonathan met Kenneth at a diner far from the hospital, a place where the clatter of dishes and hum of conversation would drown out their words. Kenneth looked like he hadn't slept either, his eyes bloodshot but alert. I got something, he said, sliding a manila folder across the table. My pathology friend pulled Gerald's autopsy records. Official cause of death was heart attack, but there were inconsistencies, trace amounts of arsenic in his system, dismissed as environmental exposure. Dismissed by who? Jonathan asked, flipping through the pages. The coroner at the time, a guy named Paul Warwick. He's retired now, living in Arizona. But here's the kicker. Warwick's bank account showed a $50,000 deposit 2 weeks after Gerald's death. No clear source. Jonathan's grip tightened on the folder. A payoff. Emma hugged him, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifted. But as he left her room, his phone buzzed with a text from Ray. SUV spotted near the hospital. Same plate. We're tailing it. Jonathan's blood ran cold. They were getting bolder. He called Ray. Don't lose them. I want to know who they're working for. We're on it, Ray said. But Jonathan, we found something else. Christy's lawyer just filed a motion to suppress the video evidence, claiming it was obtained illegally. If it gets thrown out, she could walk. Jonathan's vision darkened. Then we get more evidence. Something undeniable. That's not all, Kenneth said. I cross-referenced Christina's travel records from her first marriage. She took trips to Chicago, Miami, and Las Vegas, all cities where her other husbands died. Each time, she was there days before their deaths, meeting with someone. No names, but the same burner phone number pops up in her call logs. Jonathan leaned forward. You have a number? Kenneth nodded, scribbling it on a napkin. It's a start. But if this is an organized network, they're not going to make it easy. Jonathan pocketed the napkin. Then we make it hard for them. Back at the hospital, Emma was awake, coloring a picture of a unicorn for her dad. When can I go home, Daddy? She asked, her voice small but bright. Soon, sweetheart, Jonathan said, kissing her forehead. We're just making sure everything's safe. Is Mommy coming to visit? Jonathan's chest tightened. She's busy right now, but I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Jonathan knew he couldn't wait for Ray's team to unravel Christy's network. He needed to force her hand, make her reveal her accomplices. With Ray's approval, he arranged a visit to the county jail where Christy was being held. The plan was simple: push her to breaking, record everything, and hope she slipped. In the visitation room, Christy sat across from him, her hands cuffed, her face a mask of calm. "Jonathan, I'm so glad you came. This is all a misunderstanding." "Save it," he said, leaning forward. "I know about Gerald, Robert, and David. I know about the burner phone, the payoffs to Warwick. I know you're not working alone." Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't flinch. "You're paranoid. Grief does that to people." Her eyes darted to the corner of the room, where a security camera blinked red. She lunged forward, her cuffed hands slamming the table. "You bastard! You think you've won? They'll come for you. They'll come for Emma." "Who's they?" Jonathan demanded. "Give me names, or I'll make sure you never see daylight again." She laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You're out of your league, Jonathan. You're a businessman, not a warrior. They'll bury you." Ray's voice crackled through Jonathan's earpiece. "We got it." She admitted to accomplices on tape. "Keep her talking." But Christy clammed up, her lips a thin line. As the guards escorted her out, she threw one last barb. "Check your office, Jonathan. You missed something." "I'm not grieving," Jonathan said. "I'm angry. You tried to kill my daughter. You thought you could take everything, my money, my family, but you miscalculated. I've got the money to hire the best investigators, the best lawyers. They're tearing your life apart as we speak." For the first time, fear flickered across her face. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Jonathan pulled out his phone, showing a screenshot of the SUV's license plate. "Recognize this? Your friends aren't as careful as you think. We've got traffic cam footage, phone records, bank transfers. It's only a matter of time before we find them." Christy's composure cracked. "You think you can scare me? My people are untouchable. You'll never find them." "Your people?" Jonathan pressed, his voice low. "Who are they, Christina? Who's been helping you poison children and murder husbands?" She froze, realizing her mistake. "I didn't say—" "You said enough," Jonathan cut in, "and it's all recorded." Smile for the camera. Holy smokes, folks, the plot just thickened. Christy's got a network out there, and that cryptic warning about Jonathan's office has us on edge. What do you think she meant? Is there another trap waiting? Drop your theories in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. Revenge Emmy wants to hear from you. If this story's got you gripped, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more twists and turns. Got questions about Christy's mysterious allies or Jonathan's next move? Share them below and let's keep unraveling this wild tale together. Jonathan drove straight to his office at Clayton Industries, his mind racing. "Check your office." Christy's words were a taunt, a challenge. She'd always been meticulous, planting seeds of doubt like landmines. He tore through his desk drawers, flipped through files, checked under the rug. Nothing seemed out of place, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he was missing something. Kenneth met him there, bringing a portable scanner from his medical contacts. If she hid something, it might be electronic, a bug, a tracker. They swept the office, the scanner beeping faintly near the bookshelf. Jonathan pulled out a stack of old contracts, revealing a small black device taped to the back. A listening device, sophisticated and expensive. "She's been spying on me," Jonathan said, his voice tight. "Probably for months." Kenneth examined it. "This isn't consumer grade. Whoever she's working with has access to serious tech." Jonathan's phone buzzed. Ray again. "We lost the SUV in traffic, but we got a hit on the burner phone. It's registered to a shell company in Miami, same city where Robert Martinez died. We're digging into the owner. Keep me posted," Jonathan said, then turned to Kenneth. "We need to know what she heard. If she was listening to my calls, she might know about Emma's hospital stay, the will change, everything." They played back the device's recordings, most of which were mundane, client calls, Emma's school events. But one conversation stood out. Jonathan discussing a merger with a rival firm, a deal worth $50 million. Christy had been in the office that day bringing him coffee. She'd heard every word. "She knew I was liquidating assets," Jonathan said. "If she killed me and Emma, she'd inherit a fortune in cash, not just stock." Kenneth's face darkened. "That's why she escalated. The merger made you a bigger target." Jonathan's mind flashed to the SUV, the intruder in his backyard. They're not just watching. They're planning their next move. Talk about a bombshell. A hidden bug in Jonathan's office. Christy's been one step ahead, but Jonathan's closing the gap. What do you think her friends are planning next? Share your guesses in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Revenge, Emmy loves your input. If you're hooked on this saga, smash that subscribe button and tap the bell for the next chapter. Got questions about the mysterious device or the Miami connection? Drop them below and let's keep this story rolling. Jonathan stood in his office, the black listening device in his hand, its cold metal a reminder of how deeply Christy had infiltrated his life. The realization that she'd been eavesdropping on his every move, business deals, personal calls, even moments with Emma, felt like a violation he couldn't shake. But anger fueled his focus. Christy's friends were out there, and they were closing in. He needed to find them before they struck again. Kenneth sat across from him, his laptop open, digging through the sparse digital trail left by the burner phone number. The shell company in Miami, Brightwave Holdings, is a front, Kenneth said. No employees, no physical office, just a P.O. box and a bank account. But the account's active. Regular deposits, all under $10,000 to avoid federal scrutiny. Money laundering, Jonathan said, his business instincts kicking in. Small deposits to hide the source. Can you trace where it's coming from? Not easily, Kenneth admitted, but I found a connection. The same bank account paid for a storage unit in Chicago, rented under the name Christina Marlowe. That's where your SUV lead might tie in. Jonathan's pulse quickened. Chicago's where the rental car was registered. If she's got a storage unit there, it could be a stash, documents, cash, more poison. Kenneth nodded. Or a meeting point. If her network's as organized as we think, they're not storing teddy bears in there. Jonathan called Detective Ray, putting him on speaker. Ray, we've got a lead on a storage unit in Chicago, possibly linked to Christie's accomplices. Can you get a warrant? Chicago's out of my jurisdiction, Ray said, his voice crackling through the phone. But I've got a buddy in the CPD who owes me. Send me the details and I'll push for a rush warrant. In the meantime, do not go playing detective, Jonathan. These people are dangerous. I'm not sitting on my hands, Jonathan said. Emma's still in danger. And you'll be no good to her if you're dead, Ray shot back. Let us handle the storage unit. Focus on keeping Emma safe. Jonathan hung up, but waiting wasn't in his nature. He turned to Kenneth. If we can't go to Chicago, we need to draw her people out here. Make them think I'm vulnerable, Kenneth frowned. You're talking about baiting a trap again. It didn't work out so cleanly last time. It worked well enough to get Christy arrested, Jonathan said. This time, we're not just catching one person. We're taking down her whole operation. Jonathan spent the next morning at the hospital with Emma, keeping up the appearance of normalcy. She was coloring again, her unicorn drawings piling up, each one brighter than the last. Daddy, look! This one's got wings and a crown, she said, holding up her latest masterpiece. It's perfect, sweetheart, Jonathan said, forcing a smile. Every moment with her strengthened his resolve, but it also reminded him how much he stood to lose. He couldn't afford to fail. Back at Clayton Industries, he and Kenneth devised a plan. If Christie's network was watching, they'd expect Jonathan to be rattled, distracted. He'd give them exactly that, a grieving, desperate father making sloppy moves. He started by leaking a fake story to a business news outlet, claiming Clayton Industries was delaying its merger due to personal family matters. The article painted him as vulnerable, his empire teetering. CPD's tracking him. He's holed up in a motel outside the city. We're moving on the storage unit tomorrow morning. Warrants approved. Jonathan's mind raced. Victor Hale was a foot soldier, not the mastermind. Someone higher up was pulling the strings, and Christy was their connection. What about the device on my car? GPS tracker, Ray said. They're keeping tabs on you. We left it in place to avoid tipping them off, but we've got a tail on Hale. If he moves, we'll know. Jonathan hung up, turning to Kenneth. They're watching my every step. That means they're planning something big. Then we need to be ready, Kenneth said. If they think you're weak, they'll strike soon. Jonathan nodded. Let's make sure they regret it. Next, he made a public show of visiting Emma at the hospital, ensuring the black SUV or its driver would see him. He parked in the open, lingered in the lobby, and even left his car unlocked, a calculated risk to invite tampering. Kenneth watched from a distance, hidden in a rental car with a camera, ready to catch anyone who took the bait. By evening, the trap paid off. The surveillance cameras at the hospital caught a man in a gray hoodie tampering with Jonathan's car, planting something under the wheel well. Kenneth zoomed in, capturing the man's face before he slipped away. Jonathan sent the footage to Ray, who ran it through facial recognition. His name's Victor Hale, Ray said over the phone an hour later. Ex-con, served time for fraud and assault. known associate of a low-level crime ring in Chicago, specializes in dirty work for hire. No direct link to Christy yet, but he's our guy from the SUV. Where is he now? Jonathan asked. The next morning, Jonathan stayed at the hospital, keeping up appearances while Ray's contact in Chicago raided the storage unit. He sat by Emma's bed, reading her a story about a brave princess who fought dragons, but his mind was miles away. When Ray finally called, his voice was tight with urgency. "You were right about the storage unit," Ray said. "It's a gold mine. Cash, fake IDs, vials of arsenic, and a ledger detailing payments to multiple people. Victor Hale's one of them. There's also a laptop, encrypted to hell, but our techs are working on it." "Any names we recognize?" Jonathan asked. "Not yet, but the ledger mentions a handler codenamed Viper. Seems to be the one calling the shots. Payments to Viper go through the same Miami shell company we flagged." Jonathan's grip tightened on the phone. "Viper. That's who Christy's working for." "Maybe," Ray said. "But she's not talking, and her lawyer's stonewalling. We need that laptop cracked to connect the dots." "What about Hale?" Jonathan asked. "We're picking him up now," Ray said. "He's not the type to stay loyal under pressure. If we lean on him, he might give us Viper." Jonathan hung up, relaying the news to Kenneth. "We're close," he said, "but Viper's still out there, and they know we're onto them." Kenneth leaned back, his doctor's calm cracking. "This is bigger than we thought, Jonathan. A crime ring with this kind of reach, poison, surveillance, payoffs. They're not just after your money. They're playing a long game. Then we play longer," Jonathan said, "and harder." That afternoon, Jonathan took a risk. He called a press conference at Clayton Industries, announcing that he was stepping back from the merger to focus on his family's safety. The move was designed to make Viper's network think he was retreating, lowering their guard. But behind the scenes, he was working with Ray to set up a sting. If Hale talked, they'd use him to lure Viper into the open. Victor Hale sat in a Chicago interrogation room, his hands cuffed, his face a mix of defiance and fear. Ray's CPD contact, Detective Maria Torres, leaned across the table. "Victor, we've got you on video planting a tracker on Jonathan Clayton's car. We've got your name in a ledger tied to a storage unit full of poison and cash. You're looking at 20 years minimum. Talk, and we can cut a deal," Hale sneered. "You've got nothing. I'm just a guy doing a job." "A job for who?" Torres pressed. "Viper? We know they're running the show. Give us a name, and you walk away with a lighter sentence." Hale's eyes darted to the one-way glass where Ray and Jonathan watched. "I don't know names. I get calls, payments, that's it." "Then give us the number," Torres said. Hale hesitated, then rattled off a phone number. It matched the burner from Christie's records. Torres slid a phone across the table. "Call them. Tell them Clayton's pulling out of the merger and moving Emma to a private facility. Say he's scared, making mistakes." Hale's jaw worked, but he picked up the phone. The call went to voicemail, but the message was clear. "Hey, it's me." Clayton's freaking out, pulling back from his deal. "He's moving the kid to some fancy clinic tomorrow. Sounds like he's running scared." Jonathan watched, his heart pounding. If Viper took the bait, they'd move on Emma, thinking she was vulnerable. But the private facility was a trap, a secure location guarded by Ray's team, ready to catch anyone who showed up. That night, Jonathan stayed with Emma, sleeping in a chair by her bed. She stirred, reaching for his hand. "Daddy, are we safe now?" "We're getting there, sweetheart," he said, squeezing her hand. "I promise." Whoa. The net's tightening around Viper's crew, but that sting operation has us holding our breath. Will Hale's call lure the mastermind out, or is Viper too smart to fall for it? What do you think is hiding in that encrypted laptop? Drop your theories in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Revenge Emmy thrives on your insights. If this story's got you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell for more heart-pounding twists. Got questions about Viper or the sting? Share them below, and let's keep this thriller alive. The hospital room was quiet except for the soft beeping of Emma's monitor, a steady reminder that she was safe, for now. Jonathan sat by her side, his eyes burning from lack of sleep, but he couldn't afford to rest. Victor Hale's call to Viper's burner phone had been sent, and the trap was set. The private facility was a fortified safe house on the outskirts of the city, rigged with cameras, motion sensors, and a team of Ray's best officers lying in wait. If Viper or their operatives took the bait, they'd walk right into a net. But waiting was torture. Every creak of the hospital floor, every shadow in the hallway, set Jonathan's nerves on edge. He checked his phone obsessively, waiting for Ray's update. Kenneth was stationed in the hospital lobby, posing as a visitor, keeping an eye out for anyone suspicious. The plan was solid, but Jonathan knew Viper's network was slippery. Christy had proven that. At 9:47 p.m., Ray called. "We've got movement," he said, his voice low. "A van pulled up near the safe house 20 minutes ago. 2 men armed scoping the place. They didn't go in, but they're circling like sharks." "Any ID on them?" Jonathan asked, keeping his voice down so Emma wouldn't wake. "Not yet," Ray said, "but one of them used a burner phone, and we traced the call to the same number Hale gave us. Viper's people, no question. We're holding position, waiting for them to make a move." Jonathan's grip tightened on the phone. "What about Hale? Is he still cooperating?" "He's sweating bullets," Ray said. "Says he doesn't know Viper's real name, but he's heard whispers about a woman running the show. Someone with a knack for disappearing." "A woman?" Jonathan's mind flashed to Christy's smug confidence in the jail. "My people are untouchable." Was she Viper, or was there someone else, a puppet master pulling her strings? "Keep me posted," Jonathan said. "If they move on the safe house, I want to know immediately." He hung up, his thoughts racing. A woman. It could be Christy, orchestrating from behind bars through her lawyer or a proxy, but something didn't add up. Christy was meticulous, but she wasn't a mastermind. Her operation felt too big, too polished, for her to be the top dog. Kenneth texted, "Guy in a black jacket lingering in the hospital parking lot, watching the entrance. Could be nothing, but I'm keeping tabs." Jonathan's stomach churned. He texted back, "Stay sharp. Don't engage unless you have to." He looked at Emma, her small hand curled around the stuffed unicorn he'd bought her. The thought of anyone coming near her made his blood boil. He'd built Clayton Industries from nothing, outsmarted rivals, and crushed competitors. Viper, whoever they were, had no idea who they were dealing with. At 1:32 a.m., Ray's team reported action. The van returned to the safe house, this time with 3 men. They were professionals. Masks, gloves, no visible tattoos or identifiers. But they weren't subtle. They cut the power to the safe house, expecting to disable the cameras, unaware that Ray's team had a backup generator and infrared lenses. Jonathan watched the live feed from his phone, patched through by Ray. The men moved like a unit, breaching the back door with a lockpick, sweeping the empty rooms with silenced pistols. They were looking for Emma, expecting a scared little girl and a distracted father. Instead, they found floodlights and a dozen armed officers. "Drop your weapons!" Ray's voice boomed through the feed. The men froze, caught in the open. 2 complied, dropping their guns, but the 3rd bolted, sprinting for the van. A sniper's shot took out a tire, and the man was tackled before he reached the driver's door. Jonathan nodded, his mind already shifting to the next move. "We need to keep Viper guessing. If they think we're closing in, they'll get sloppy." "How?" Kenneth asked. "I'm going to leak that I'm moving Emma out of state," Jonathan said. "Make it look like I'm running. If Viper's watching, they'll try to intercept us." Kenneth's eyes widened. "You're using Emma as bait?" "No," Jonathan said firmly. "Emma stays here, under guard. I'll be the bait. I'll drive her favorite blanket, her backpack, make it look like she's with me. If they come for me, Ray's team will be ready." Kenneth shook his head. "You're insane. These people don't play games." "Neither do I," Jonathan said. "They threatened my daughter. I'm ending this." Jonathan's phone buzzed with Ray's update. "We've got them. 2 in custody, 1 talking already. Says they were hired to grab Emma and deliver her to a drop point in Chicago. They don't know who's paying, but the orders came through Viper's burner." "What's the drop point?" Jonathan asked. "An abandoned warehouse on the south side," Ray said. "We're sending a team now, but it's probably a dead end. These guys are low level, just muscle." Viper's still in the wind, Jonathan's jaw clenched. "What about the laptop from the storage unit?" "Techs are still working on it," Ray said. "The encryption's military grade. We're bringing in a specialist from the FBI, but it'll take time." Time was the one thing Jonathan couldn't spare. He turned to Kenneth, who'd just arrived from the hospital lobby. "The guy in the parking lot. What happened?" "Gone," Kenneth said. "Slipped away when I got too close. But I got a partial plate on his car. Sent it to Ray." Jonathan's plan was simple but risky. He'd drive a decoy route to a supposed private airport where a chartered plane was waiting to take Emma to a secure location. Ray's team would tail him discreetly, with drones and unmarked cars tracking any pursuit. The bait was Jonathan himself, alone, vulnerable, or so Viper would think. He left the hospital at dawn, Emma's unicorn blanket on the passenger seat, her backpack in the back. He'd told her he was running errands, promising to bring her favorite ice cream later. The lie stung, but her safety was worth it. The drive was quiet at first, the city waking up in a haze of early light. Jonathan kept his eyes on the rearview mirror, watching for tails. 30 minutes in, Ray's voice crackled through his earpiece. "We've got a gray sedan, 3 cars back. Been with you since the hospital." Running the plates now, Jonathan's heart rate spiked, but he kept his speed steady. "Any word on the warehouse?" Jonathan pulled over, his hands shaking but his mind clear. Ray called, breathless. "You okay?" "Yeah," Jonathan said, checking himself for injuries. "Just a little glass. You got them." "Driver's in custody, shooters down," Ray said. "The sedan guy's talking already. Says he was hired by a woman named Elena Voss, goes by Viper. She's based in Miami, runs a network of contract killers and fixers." Jonathan's blood ran cold. Elena Voss. That's our mastermind. "We're running her name now," Ray said. "But Jonathan, she's a ghost. No photos, no address, just aliases and rumors. If she's Viper, she's not going down easy." "CPD swept it," Ray said. "Empty, but they found traces of arsenic and packing materials. Looks like a staging area for their operations." Jonathan's grip tightened on the wheel. "They're still planning to move on Emma." "Or you," Ray said. "Stay sharp. If the sedan makes a move, we'll box them in." 10 miles from the airport, the sedan closed the gap. Jonathan caught a glimpse of the driver, male, sunglasses, no visible features. A second car, a black pickup, joined from a side street, boxing him in. Jonathan's pulse pounded, but he trusted Ray's team. He slowed, letting the cars get closer, drawing them into the trap. "Now!" Ray's voice barked. Unmarked cars surged from behind, cutting off the sedan and pickup. Officers swarmed, weapons drawn. The sedan's driver surrendered, but the pickup's passenger opened fire, a short burst of gunfire that shattered Jonathan's rear windshield. He ducked, swerving, as Ray's team returned fire, neutralizing the shooter. Back at the hospital, Jonathan sat with Emma, trying to focus on her chatter about unicorns and school while his mind churned. Elena Voss. The name felt like a key, unlocking pieces of Christy's operation. He called Kenneth, who was digging into Voss's past. "What do we know about her?" "Not much," Kenneth admitted. "She's a shadow. Interpol has a file, but it's thin, suspected in half a dozen high-profile murders, all poisoning or accidents, no convictions. She's linked to Miami, but no one's seen her face." "Christy knows her," Jonathan said. "She has to." That's why she was so confident in jail. Ray joined them, looking haggard. The laptops cracked. "We found emails between Christy and an encrypted account tied to Voss. They go back years, planning every step. Gerald's death, the others, even you and Emma." Jonathan's stomach twisted. "What's the connection?" "Money," Ray said. "Voss runs a syndicate that targets wealthy families. Christy was her recruiter, marrying into fortunes, setting up the kills. You were her biggest score yet." Jonathan's mind flashed to Christy's first meeting with him at the gala, her easy charm, the way she'd seemed too perfect. It was all a setup. "Where's Voss now?" "We don't know," Ray said, "but the emails mention a meeting in Miami next week. If we can get Christy to flip, we might catch her." Jonathan stood, his resolve hardening. "Then we make Christy talk. Talk about a high-stakes chase. Elena Voss, the elusive Viper, is finally in sight, but she's a ghost who doesn't go down easy. Will Jonathan get Christy to spill the beans, or is Voss already one step ahead? What did you think of that car chase? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Revenge Emmy loves hearing from you. If this thriller's got you hooked, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell for more pulse-pounding twists. Got questions about Voss or the Miami meeting? Share them below and let's keep this story unraveling. Jonathan sat in the sterile visitation room of the county jail, the same one where he'd confronted Christy days ago. This time, the stakes were higher. Elena Voss, the elusive Viper, was the key to dismantling the network threatening his family, and Christy was the only path to her. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the metal table. Jonathan's hands were steady, but his heart pounded with a mix of rage and determination. He'd built an empire by outsmarting opponents. Now, he'd break a killer. Christy was led in, her orange jumpsuit a stark contrast to the polished woman he'd once loved. Her eyes, once warm and inviting, were cold now, calculating. She sat, folding her hands, her lips curling into a faint smirk. "Back so soon, Jonathan? Miss me already?" "I'm here for answers," he said, his voice low, controlled. "Elena Voss. Tell me where she is." Her smirk faltered, just for a second. "I don't know who that is." "Don't play dumb," Jonathan said, leaning forward. "We cracked the laptop from your storage unit. Emails, plans, payments, all tying you to Voss. You've been working for her for years, haven't you? Setting up husbands, poisoning kids, all for a cut of the money." Christy's face hardened, but she didn't deny it. "You think you're so clever, don't you? Digging into my past, playing detective. But you're out of your depth, Jonathan. You have no idea who you're dealing with." "I know enough," he said. "Voss is the brains. You're the bait. You married me, played the perfect wife, all while slipping arsenic into Emma's food. But you made a mistake. You underestimated me." Her laugh was sharp, cutting. "Underestimated? I had you wrapped around my finger. You were so desperate for a happy little family, you never saw it coming." Jonathan's jaw clenched, but he kept his cool. "Maybe. But now you're in here, and Voss is exposed. We've got her burner number, her shell company, her hired muscle. We know she's meeting someone in Miami next week. Give me her location, and I'll make sure the DA goes easy on you." Christy's eyes narrowed. "You think I'd sell her out? You think I'm that weak?" "I think you're scared," Jonathan said. "Voss is a ghost, but we're closing in. If you don't talk, she'll cut you loose. You'll take the fall for everything. Gerald, Robert, David, Emma, life in prison, no parole. Or you can help us, and maybe you see daylight again." For the first time, doubt flickered across her face. She leaned back, studying him. "What's in it for me?" "A reduced sentence," Jonathan said, though the words tasted bitter. "You give us Voss, her network, her plans. You testify. The DA's ready to deal." She was silent, her fingers tapping the table. Jonathan could almost see the gears turning. She was weighing her options, calculating her survival. Finally, she spoke, her voice low. "If I talk, you guarantee Emma's safety." "No deals unless she's protected." Jonathan's stomach twisted. Was this another act, or did some part of her actually care about Emma? "Emma's safe. She's under guard, and she's not leaving until Voss is in cuffs." "Talk," Christy exhaled, her shoulders slumping slightly. "Voss is careful. She never meets in person, not with me. We used encrypted apps, dead drops for cash. But the Miami meeting, it's real. She's meeting a client at a private club, the Azure, next Thursday. I don't know the client's name, but it's a big job, bigger than you." Jonathan's mind raced. The Azure was an exclusive venue, the kind of place where the ultra-wealthy made deals away from prying eyes. "What's the job?" "I don't know," Christy said. "Voss doesn't share details until the last minute. But she's been talking about a clean sweep, taking out a whole family, not just one target. That's all I've got." Jonathan leaned back, his mind already planning the next move. "You're going to help us set her up." Christy's eyes widened. "You're insane. If she even suspects I'm talking, I'm dead." "Then you'd better hope we get to her first," Jonathan said. "Because if she comes for Emma, I'll make sure you regret it for the rest of your life." Back at the hospital, Jonathan briefed Ray and Kenneth in a quiet corner of the cafeteria, away from curious ears. Emma was upstairs, coloring with a nurse, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing around her. Jonathan laid out Christy's intel. The Azure, Thursday, a big job. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Ray rubbed his temples, looking like he hadn't slept in days. The Azure is a fortress, private security, no cameras, members only. Getting in there without tipping Voss off is going to be a nightmare. "Then we don't go in as cops," Jonathan said. "We go in as clients. I've got contacts in Miami, people who owe me favors. I can get us on the guest list." Kenneth frowned. "You're not a cop, Jonathan. You're a civilian. If this goes south, you're not just risking your life. You're risking Emma's." "I'm not sitting on the sidelines," Jonathan snapped. "This is my family. Voss targeted my daughter. I'm ending this." Ray's phone buzzed and he glanced at the screen. Chicago PD just got a hit on Voss's burner. It pinged a tower in Miami last night. She's already there. Jonathan's blood ran cold. The clock was ticking faster than he'd thought. Then we move now. Ray held up a hand. Let's think this through. If we can get you into the Azure as a guest, we'll need backup. Undercover agents, maybe FBI. I'll coordinate with my contacts in Miami PD, but we'll need Christy to confirm Voss's presence. She'll cooperate, Jonathan said. She's scared of Voss, but she's more scared of life in prison. Ray nodded. We'll wire her for the meeting. If she can get Voss to talk, we'll have enough to move in. But Jonathan, if Voss is as good as you say, she'll smell a setup a mile away. Then we make it airtight, Jonathan said. We leak that I'm in Miami, looking for protection for Emma. Voss will think I'm a desperate father, easy prey. She won't be able to resist. Kenneth shook his head. You're playing with fire again. If Voss takes the bait, she won't just send muscle. She'll come herself. That's what I'm counting on, Jonathan said. We get her in the open, we end this. Jonathan landed in Miami on Wednesday morning, the humid air hitting him like a wall as he stepped off the private jet. He'd called in a favor with a tech mogul who frequented the Azure, securing a guest pass under an alias, James Carter, a reclusive investor looking for security solutions. Ray and a small team of undercover FBI agents were already in the city, posing as business associates and waitstaff. Kenneth stayed behind to watch over Emma, coordinating with the hospital's security team. The Azure was a sleek, modern building on the waterfront, its tinted glass reflecting the Miami skyline. Inside, it was all luxury, marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and discreet security guards who looked more like ex-special forces than bouncers. Jonathan wore a tailored suit, his alias's backstory memorized. A widower with a sick daughter, desperate for protection. The perfect mark for Voss. His heart pounded. He set the drink down, moving toward a private lounge where his meeting was scheduled. The woman in the black dress followed at a distance, her movements fluid, predatory. Jonathan's instincts screamed, Viper. Inside the lounge, a man in a gray suit waited, introducing himself as Marcus, a security consultant. But Jonathan's eyes were on the woman who lingered by the door, her hand resting lightly on her purse. Mr. Carter, Marcus said, his smile too smooth. I hear you're looking for protection for your daughter. Jonathan played the part, his voice tinged with desperation. She's sick, vulnerable. I need someone who can keep her safe, no questions asked. Marcus nodded. We can help, but it's costly. Money's no object, Jonathan said, glancing at the woman. She stepped closer, her eyes locked on him. You're a long way from home, Mr. Carter, she said, her voice low, accented faintly. Eastern European, maybe. What makes you think we can trust you? Jonathan met her gaze. Because I'm a father who'd do anything for his kid. You know how that is. Her smile was cold, calculating. Oh, I do. Ray's voice hissed in his ear. That's her. Elena Voss. We've got her on facial recognition. Keep her talking. Jonathan leaned forward, his heart racing, but his voice steady. I hear you're the best. They call you Viper, right? Her eyes narrowed, but before she could respond, the lounge doors burst open. FBI agents stormed in, weapons drawn. Elena Voss, you're under arrest. Voss moved like lightning, pulling a knife from her purse, lunging for Jonathan. He dodged, grabbing her wrist, years of self-defense training kicking in. The agents tackled her, pinning her to the ground as she hissed, You'll never stop us! Jonathan stepped back, breathing hard as Ray cuffed her. We got her, Ray said. And the client she was meeting, some oil baron. He's singing already, spilling names. Jonathan's legs felt weak, but he stood tall. It's over? For now, Ray said, but her network's deep. We'll be cleaning up for months. Ray's voice crackled through his earpiece. We've got eyes on the entrance. Christy's in a holding cell nearby, wired and ready to make the call. She'll tell Voss you're at the Azure looking to hire muscle. Jonathan nodded, sipping a drink at the bar, his eyes scanning the room. The crowd was a mix of wealthy elites, real estate tycoons, hedge fund managers, a few shady types who didn't quite fit. Any one of them could be Voss. He spotted a woman in a black dress, her dark hair pulled back, her posture too controlled, too observant. She met his gaze for a split second before looking away. Ray, woman in the black dress, 9 o'clock, Jonathan whispered. Could be her. Checking now, Ray said. Stay put. Jonathan's phone buzzed, a text from Christy sent through Ray's secure line. Voss is there. She's expecting you. Be careful. Jonathan returned to the hospital, his body aching but his mind clear. Emma was waiting, her unicorn drawings covering the walls. "Daddy!" she squealed, throwing her arms around him. "You're back!" "I'm back, sweetheart," he said, holding her tight. "And we're safe now." Kenneth met him in the hallway, a rare smile on his face. "You did it, man." Voss is in custody, Christy's testifying, and the network's crumbling. Jonathan nodded, but the weight of it all lingered. He'd won, but at what cost? His trust in people, his sense of safety, even his memories of Christy. They were all tainted, but as he looked at Emma, giggling over her drawings, he knew it was worth it. "We're moving," he told Kenneth. "Somewhere quiet, away from all this. Just me and Emma." Kenneth clapped his shoulder. "You've earned it." What a finale. Jonathan took down Viper, but that lingering hint of her network's reach has us wondering, will it ever truly be over? What did you think of that showdown at the Azure? Drop your reactions in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Revenge. Emmy loves your energy. If this saga had you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more thrilling tales. Got questions about Jonathan's next steps or Voss's shadowy empire? Share them below and let's keep the conversation alive.
Hold on to your seats, folks, because this story's far from over. Jonathan and Emma may have won this round, but Voss's chilling warning, "They'll come for you," hints at darker threats lurking in the shadows. Will Jonathan's new life bring peace, or is another storm brewing? Don't miss the thrilling conclusion in part 2 of A Game of Trust and Triumph. Head over to Revenge Emmy right now, hit subscribe, and catch the next chapter to see how Jonathan fights to protect his daughter from an enemy that won't quit. Drop your guesses about what's coming in the comments, and let's dive into the suspense together.